Do you sometimes feel like you're older than dirt? I know sometimes I do. I look around and think, it's really strange being the same age as all these old people. But well, I am. I wonder why Pierce Brosnan doesn't look like he did when he was Remington Steele. Don't get me wrong, he's still hot. And another thing, why does everything have to hurt? Well, that's for another video. So what are the signs that you're older than dirt? Have you ever thought about it? I've come up with and dug up a few, so you don't have to. Cars used to have this thing called a carburetor. If you remember that, you could be older than dirt. In 1984, I had a Camaro. It had a carburetor. Remember, pump twice and crank? My next car had these doodads called fuel injectors. I didn't know that. I mentioned flooding the car at the garage. The mechanic said, "You can't flood a car with fuel injectors." Oh, oops, missed that one. Speaking of cars, if the next car you buy will be for comfort, not style, you could be older than dirt. AARP listed the Kia Soul as a car that is easy to get in and out of for seniors. I'm sure interested. When you see high heels, you don't think, aren't they cute? But how much are they going to hurt? That's a clue that you're older than dirt. Do you still have a cassette tape player and the tapes that go with it? That's me. They're language tapes. They're dusty. Raise your hand if there were only 48 states when you were born. Remember when gas was 30 cents a gallon? And the gas station attendant actually pumped your gas for you? Ah, the good old days. How many of your high school teachers are dead? You actually had stock certificates. I mean, on real paper, something you could see and feel. You've used an outhouse, not the one at an outdoor concert or a park. I mean, actually at someone's house. Remember the food pyramid? That was considered the only healthy way of eating. Not anymore. Times have sure changed. Remember your first computer? This was mine. It was delivered to my classroom. I stared at it. It was cute. Remember when you only went to the doctor when you were sick? Now the doctor is your best buddy. Corningware wasn't a collector's item. You actually used it to cook. Remember S&H green stamps and Texas gold stamps for all you Texans out there? I love sticking those stamps in the stamp books. TV shows went off at midnight and played that poem High Flight. There were no MMR vaccines back in those days. We just got sick. It was sort of a rite of passage through childhood. My mother actually sent me to daycare hoping I would pick up these childhood illnesses and get it over with. A classmate of mine in elementary school died of measles. Before the introduction of measles vaccine, 2.6 million people died of measles. By 2014, it was down to 76,000. Remember this scar? Do you know why the kiddos don't have one now? Vaccines and contact tracing worked, and smallpox was declared officially eradicated in 1979. Fun factoid, it is the only infectious disease that can make this claim. Remember when the Jets beat Baltimore in the Super Bowl? Remember when the Baltimore Ravens used to be the Baltimore Colts? Remember when the Jets won anything of note? Yeah, I don't remember that either. Speaking of the Jets, remember that Joe Namath and Farrah Fawcett Noxzema commercial? Let Noxzema cream your face so the razor won't. Okay, I'll stop. Do you remember those cigarette vending machines that had the pull knobs? They'd been illegal since 2010. Remember when your telephone number began with a word as a prefix? Mine was orchard. These prefixes lasted through the 1960s. What was your prefix? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. I went to school in Texas, and they had no air conditioning in my elementary school. Yes, you heard it right. Texas. Do you know how hot it gets in Texas? Oddly enough, I don't remember being bothered by it too much. Now I'm bothered if my AC is out for 10 minutes. When I first started playing tennis, tennis rackets were made of wood. Mine was a Jack Kramer autograph. He's dead. In golf, some clubs were called woods for a reason. That's what they were made of. My first clubs were Patty Berg's. She's dead too. Remember that camera called the Polaroid Swinger? Meet the swinger, Polaroid swinger. Okay, I'll stop here too. Remember when everyone went to drive-in movies? I saw a double-header, MASH, and Patton with my parents and proceeded to fall asleep in the back seat. Are you losing your hair in places you want it to be and growing it in places you don't want it to be? Yeah, that happens to all of us sooner or later. Remember when Barbie didn't have Ken or Skipper and looked like this? Now she's ditched Ken and looks like this. Remember when your first car had a headlight dimmer switch on the floor? Such fun clicking that off and on with your foot until that jerk coming at you figured out his high beams were on. My first car was named after a horse and a bean. Yep, that one. The one that explodes when rear-ended. And those duck and cover drills? Remember them? Yeah, right. As if that would have saved us. Weed was, well, it was weed. Then and now. That peace sign was more than a design on a shirt. Girls couldn't wear pants to school back in my day. By the time I got to high school, we could wear pantsuits. Now, it looks like they can wear anything. Aw, man, I promised myself I was never going to say, in my day. Oh well, that's the way it goes. I bet you remember ironing your hair to straighten it out. Admit it. If you weren't rolling your hair on orange juice cans, at least you tried it. You would put your hair on an ironing board, put a wet towel over it, and then you ironed over the towel. You had one of these things. Not one of these things. These things didn't forgive bad typing. But we were tough back in those days. We suffered. We hired someone to type that term paper. We love vinyl and lava lamps. Some people still do. What was old is young again. So there you have it. Some of the signs that you might be older than dirt. Are there any I might have left out? Let me know in the comments. And as far as the good old days, someone once told me that maybe the good old days weren't as good as we thought they were. I mean, what would I do without streaming? My cell phone, internet, Twitter. Okay, we'd probably be better off without that.